Model minority. The boycotts and petitions are a rare show of open discontent among ethnic Mongolians, hailed by some as one of China's model minorities that have been largely pacified and successfully integrated into the ethnic Han majority. Mongolians are one of only two ethnic minorities to have ruled Imperial China. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire arose from the unification of several nomadic tribes in the Mongolian steppes to conquer much of Eurasia, including China, where it was known as the Yuan dynasty, from the year 1271 to 1368. After World War II, the Chinese Communist Party gained control of Inner Mongolia, a vast strip of grassland and desert to the southeast of country of Mongolia, and established the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in 1947, the first of 5 so-called autonomous regions in the People's Republic of China. Following decades of Han migration and intermarriage into Inner Mongolia, ethnic Mongolians have since become a minority in their own land, accounting for only about 1/6 of Inner Mongolia's population of 24 million, according to the last available census data. However, unlike autonomous regions such as Tibet and Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia has largely avoided violent ethnic unrest in recent decades. Inner Mongolia is not against the Chinese government. It is a relatively stable place, said Tala, a 26-year-old Mongolian who grew up in the region and now lives overseas. But even so, he said, we've been pushed to the brink. Under the surface, tensions have been running for years, especially between Han settlers and Mongolian herders, who complained their traditional grazing lands have been ruined by a coal mining boom. That conflict was laid bare in 2011 when a Mongolian herder was struck and killed by a coal truck driven by Han Chinese. The herder, protesting against the coal mining activity, has tried to stop trucks from crossing into his traditional pasture land. His death triggered thousands of Mongolians to take to the streets, the last time major protests broke out in the region. Mongolian activists also lamented the loss of their pastoral tradition. Herders were moved from their homes on the prairies into new housing complexes in towns under ecological migration, a decades-long relocation program that officials say is aimed at alleviating poverty and easing overgrazing. The Mongolian way of life has already been wiped out by so many policies, said Engabatu, director of Southern Mongolian Human Rights Information Center, a New York-based advocacy group. This new policy is the final blow to the Mongolian identity, he said of the curriculum change. Bilingual education. As discontent threatens to boil over, Inner Mongolian authorities have sought to reassure parents that the change will only apply to language and literature, politics and history over a staggered 3-year period. Other subjects, as well as the number of hours for Mongolian language lessons, remain unchanged, according to a statement from the Education Bureau of the regional government. Therefore, the current bilingual education system has not changed, the statement said. However, some ethnic Mongolians also fear that Mongolian will eventually be replaced by Mandarin in all subjects. Critiques of China's assimilation policies say Mongolians only need to look at the ethnic minority regions of Xinjiang and Tibet to get a glimpse of what the future might hold. Both regions have implemented bilingual education for years, but in practice, the system skews heavily towards Mandarin teaching, according to rights groups. Across Xinjiang, Mandarin had become the instruction language in all primary and middle schools by September 2018. Tibetan is also being replaced by Mandarin as the primary medium of instruction in Tibet. We should implement bilingual education in some ethnic areas, both requiring ethnic minorities to learn the national common language and encouraging Hans living in these areas learn ethnic minority languages, she said at a high-level party meeting on ethnic policy in 2014. If ethnic minorities learn the national common language well, it will be beneficial to them in employment, in accepting modern scientific and cultural knowledge, and in integration into society. In reality, however, few Hans in ethnic minority regions know the local languages, which they are not required to learn at school, residents say. As in Xinjiang and Tibet, the Chinese authorities appear to be putting political imperatives ahead of educational ones, said Sophie Richardson, China Director of Human Rights Watch. Chinese authorities should be focused on providing genuine bilingual education, not undermining it and prosecuting its proponents. For decades, Inner Mongolia's model of bilingual education has allowed Mongolian to be used as the language of instruction and Mandarin taught as a subject. In ethnic minority schools, students used to receive their first Mandarin lesson in the third year of elementary school, but since at least the 1990s, it has started earlier in the second grade. And now it will be taught in the first year in Mandarin and with more advanced content. Angba, the herdsman in Xilingo, said, by the first grade, many children haven't even properly learned their mother tongue yet, and adding another language would be a big burden. In Inner Mongolia, many children only begin to properly learn the Mongolian script, a unique alphabet written vertically that ultimately derives from the Middle East when they enter elementary school. Now, Chinese is already spoken everywhere in cities as well as pastoral areas, he said. So I hope school can be the place where the children learn Mongolian properly. For its part, the regional government has emphasized that the new curriculum is a policy decision made by the party's central leadership. Our region is a model autonomous region. Firmly implementing this policy is a major political task that we must fulfill, it said in the meeting on Tuesday. According to the overseas Mongolian scholar, however, parents are not against the use of standardized national textbooks, as long as they're translated into Mongolian. In fact, she said the curriculum previously used in Mongolian medium schools had all been translated from Chinese textbooks used in other parts from the country. The old education system has worked very well, said the scholar, who grew up in Inner Mongolia and attended Mongolian language schools in the countryside. The children don't have any problem speaking Mandarin. They're already bilingual,